listen at this. Faith without movement. So works also equals movement. What about this one? Faith without effort. So works is also effort. I love this one. Faith without obedience. Okay? Because the works of your faith represents obedience. What about this one? Faith without practice. So he says that faith without works, faith without movement, faith without effort, faith without obedience, faith without practice is dead. In other words, he's saying it's ineffective. It's not going to help you. And I tell you one of the words that I really like there is your obedience. I need you to understand that your obedience is a work of faith. Because what James is saying is, and this is really what Paul is saying too, that if you believe something, there has to be a corresponding action that lines up with what you believe. There are some people, they got all the belief in the world, but they have no corresponding action that goes along with that belief. And there are some people, I believe God for this. I trust God for this. I believe God's going to do this. I believe God's going to do that. But they don't have any obedience. And so things don't work and things don't happen because you got the belief, but you don't have no actions to show for it. In fact, when we look at the Bible, obedience and faith are closely related terms. Faith obeys, and obedience takes faith. Faith obeys, so if you got faith, you're going to obey God. If you got faith, you're going to do what God tells you to do. But also, it does, I'm not going to tell you a story, also it takes faith in order to obey God. Especially when God tells you to do something that don't make sense. And here we are in our mortal bodies. We're living on earth, and we're living this type of experience on the earth. And here comes God tells us something, and in our mortal bodies, we keep trying to make sense of everything that God tells us. But the truth be told, when God really tells you something, it ain't going to make sense. You ever had God tell you something, you trying to line it all up, you trying to see, well, I don't know how this is going to work, and I don't know how that is going to work. That's the times where you have to have faith in order to be able to operate in that thing, okay? I want you to write this down because this came to my mind when I was preparing for this. I want you to write this down. Faith doesn't work unless you do. Faith doesn't work unless you do. So the faith is going to work, you got to do some work. Okay? So that means that whatever you're believing for, you have to be able to work on it. If you believe in God for healing, you got to work on it. If you believe in God for wholeness, you got to work on it. If you believe in God for your marriage, you got to work on it. If you believe in God for greater, everybody say greater. What's that? That's the word for the year, right? If you believe in God for greater, you got to work on it. So working faith, okay? Working faith. The next one, laboring love. And you may look at this and we may say, well, the word labor, because you said working faith, but in the word work and labor, the same thing? Not in this context. Listen at this. In this context, the word labor is the Greek word kopos, K-O-P-O-S, which means to work to the point of exhaustion. The word work from working faith that we just read, that is the word ergon, E-R-G-O-N, and that means there is a deed or an action. So here's the difference. Working faith represents the deed or the action, but laboring love represents the effort. Okay? Let me say that again. Working, when we talk about working faith, work is the deed or the action, but labor is the effort or the energy that you put into it. Okay? The word labor refers to hard or